Hey guys, welcome to Luxe Life. Buying a watch can be a daunting decision, especially if you're a Rolex enthusiast. You just can't pick one and call it a day. You need to know if it's worth spending that much money on a watch like Rolex. But if you're having your doubts about buying a Rolex, then you've come to the right place. So instead of making a hasty decision, don't buy a Rolex watch until you watch this. Omega versus Rolex. A lot of the watch pundits always compare Omega and Rolex. They're two of the most popular and established brands that come out with elegant and amazing watches. But Rolex has a certain reputation to its name, so Rolex is considered more popular. But according to a lot of information gained over the years, people actually consider buying Omega over Rolex. So let us see why that is. We'll help you decide which watch you should go for according to your particular needs. Warranty on these watches. When it comes to most brands of watches, we're given a maximum 2-year warranty with their watches, but not Rolex and Omega. Both of these brands offer impressive warranties for their watches. Other than every luxury brand, both Rolex and Omega offer a long warranty duration with their watches. It's definitely considered superior. Instead of just 2 years, Omega offers a 5-year warranty on its watches, and so does Rolex. Both of these brands are always head-to-head when it comes to watches. How much is the resale value? When buying a luxurious watch from brands like Rolex and Omega, one should always consider its resale value because you never know when you might get bored with the watch, and you must get the value back with which you purchased that watch. Fortunately, when it comes to reselling value, you can count on a Rolex. In the resale area, Rolex is better than Omega or any other luxury brand for that matter. If you purchase a Rolex, you'll be happy to know that it's the highest resale brand in the world. However, Omega's average resale value isn't that bad. Omega's best watch may have a higher resale value than the worst model of Rolex, but Rolex still dominates Omega in this matter. The value of Rolex holds the best in the market. Rolex is also considered to be the brand with the most knockoff versions ever made. When it comes to average resale value, Rolex sets the bar higher than any other brand. Which brand gets recognized? There's an agency called Interbrand that's known to measure the popularity and brand values of Swiss brands. According to them, Rolex gets 100% international brand recognition as it's the single most recognized watch in the world. Does Omega get the same recognition? After Rolex, Omega comes second in making heads turn at your watches. With a Rolex, you could expect to be asked about or praised for, but Omega is the second most recognizable brand in the world. The Omega brand is recognized 70% of the time, which is a huge accomplishment for the brand, but in comparison with Rolex, there's still a 30% difference. How accurate are these watches? Both of these brands have reached every limit to set the standard of exceptionally precise watches. When it comes to these watches, they aren't just about marketing. They actually deliver what they promise. Some of the watches are tested in a third-party lab called COSC, which stands for Contrôle Officiel Suisse des Chronometers. The watches that have the title of chronometers are super accurate. Both of these luxury brands create watches that have a designation of chronometers, but the question is, which of them is more accurate, Rolex or Omega? To answer your question, Omega wins in this category. Omega offers super accuracy in their watches. Omega not only makes mechanical watches, but also quartz watches, and they happen to be more accurate than their mechanical counterparts. But Rolex doesn't manufacture quartz watches anymore. They did try to manufacture some, but then they brought their focus back to mechanical watches. But people, unfortunately, buy watches for the aesthetics and not their accuracy. Which brand has better magnetic resistance? If you haven't heard of the term EMF, allow me to explain. EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency. Every electronic device that you own, be it a phone, a laptop, or an iPad, emits these frequencies. And mechanical watches face a hard time because these frequencies mess up the timekeeping in these watches. It's a lot of hassle for watchmakers to try and make the time as accurate as possible. Both the brands Rolex and Omega are remarkable in this category because they both make anti-magnetic watches. Rolex has the model of Milgauss, which has a magnetic resistance of up to 1000 Gauss. Omega also has models like Master Coaxial Chronometer or a Master Chronometer. These watches are tested and certified in a lab called Metas. The Omega watches are tested for many things like magnetic exposure up to 15,000 Gausses. Omega is 15 times more efficient than Rolex. They both fight with frequencies to provide accuracy for you. Which brand has better water resistance? When it comes to providing water resistance watches, both of these brands produce excellent divers watches. They come with a screw-down crown, which helps the watch and not make contact with the water. Both of these brands offer great water resistance, but Rolex surely dominates this area too. Rolex remains the best when it comes to waterproof watches. Omega has the Seamaster Pro Prof 1200mm, which is very amazing. It has a water resistance of 1200 meters and 4,000 feet. Some other diver models of Omega are Seamaster Planet Ocean and Omega Seamaster Professional Diver 300M. These watches are enough to satisfy your scuba diving needs. All of these models come with a helium release valve as well. However, Omega has a long way to go to catch up with Rolex. Rolex manufactured its Rolex Deep Sea series, which are the perfect diver watches today. The water resistance on these watches is 3,900 meters and 12,800 feet. While Omega also provides great water resistance, compared to Rolex, it still has quite the long way to go. Price differences of these brands. Both of these brands are very luxurious as well as pricey, but the question is, which brand is more pricier, Omega or Rolex? Rolex does have higher prices than Omega watches. The cheapest Rolex watch is double in price than the cheapest watch of Omega. Omega has been manufacturing models that are a bit more pricey, but they still haven't outpaced Rolex. The Sea Dweller 4000 series offer water resistance up to 4,000 feet, just like the diver watch of Omega Pro Prof 1200 meters. Yet Rolex's diver watch is more pricey. Rolex not only comes out with elegant and practical models, but they're also just as pricey. Omega is significantly cheaper than Rolex. Some common features of these brands. Now that we've compared both of these brands, let's talk about some of the common features that both these brands are in possession of. Both of these brands have not remained behind in manufacturing some of the most iconic and legendary watches in history. Both Omega and Rolex are luxury Swiss brands that are highly recognized. Both Omega and Rolex have been in the watchmaking industry for decades, and they've made numerous horological innovations in their watches. In the various films of 007, James Bond has worn watches by both of these brands. When we hear Rolex, we immediately think of the word expensive. So if you want to go for a watch that's both practical and costs less than a Rolex, then your perfect choice is an Omega. This brings us to the end of our video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and do be sure to subscribe to our channel and press that bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. Bye for now.